Hello sword friends! It's time for me to make another channel update, and the first thing I need to address is a thank you. Thank you for subscribing. The channel hit 1,000 subscribers or a little bit more now, and that kind of flabbergasts me. I can't actually believe that there are 1,000 people interested in the nonsense that I have to say about swords, but realistically it seems like not long ago I was saying thank you for 500 subscribers, and now that has doubled. And more to the point, thank you for letting me be part of the community, and thank you for engaging with me, fellow folks that have a similar interest. I've heard some stuff from YouTubers that the experience of making YouTube videos can be not overwhelmingly positive, either from the feedback that you get or just from some of the crazy stuff that can happen, and that really hasn't been my experience. Not too long ago I put out a video and I mentioned that this can be a bit of a thankless job, and a lot of people went out of their way to say thank you and to encourage me to make more videos and to tell me that the things that I make are helpful or interesting and that they enjoy them. And thank you for that. Thank you. It helps motivate me to keep making more of these videos, and well, just thank you. Thank you. All right, so as was kind of tradition, I will do a little bit more Q&A on some personal stuff in this kind of channel update, and I'm also going to mention two additional things that are more channel related. One is I made a Facebook Matthew Jensen sword review, pretty glamorous naming granted, but I made a Facebook page, and you can hit me up there. It's a little more conversational than YouTube is, and I'm going to post some stuff that I have ideas for videos for, and some this and that are a little quicker than making a YouTube video and a little easier to read than the YouTube comments. So I will put a link in the thingy below. Also, I made a Patreon account based on some of the recommendations that I have had from some other folks, and realistically I have no honest expectations for Patreon. If you contribute there, great, thanks, but don't feel like you have to. The content isn't going to be any different. I'm not going to give stuff to Patreon users more than other users, and frankly I don't really expect anyone to give it to me, but somebody said you should make one, so I did. It gives people an avenue to donate if they want me to review a particular product or break a particular product or something to that extent. So the only real priority I'd give to Patreon contributors would be that you kind of get to pick the stuff that I review, because the money there will be used to probably buy the thing that you're contributing or asking for. That's really about all I can see using it for. Don't expect the content to change or get too much different. Also there, if you feel interested, frankly there are a lot more worthy people to give your time and money to on Patreon. Shad, the Shadiversity, it used to be I Am Shad, he changed it to Shadiversity, has a much more compelling argument to give Patreon wise, and there are a lot of other YouTube creators that do YouTube full-time or might not have a full-time job or might need the money, frankly, more than I do. But I threw it out there. If you like my antics and you want me to break something in particular, it gives you an avenue to do that. The other stuff that I'm going to do now is Q&A. If you have no interest in me personally, then you can probably tune out. There's no sword porn in this one. I will have some updates later with some more cool stuff, but no sword porn for the moment. So the first question that I got is, what other swords are you interested in? Well, I have an interest in just about anything that's sharp and shiny, but I make videos primarily on Japanese swords because that's probably my main focus, and subsequently it's the stuff that's easiest to find. So there's, at least for me when I look, there's a lot of Japanese production swords and projects and things like that that are available, and that's what I know the most about, even though I don't know a lot about it. I'm still learning a lot, but that's what I buy most. I'm interested in anything though. I have interest in Filipino martial arts since I studied a Filipino martial art. From a practitioner standpoint, I have interest there, and of course European pieces, which is an enormously broad term used to describe just about, well, a ton of variety of swords. I have interest in those, but I don't find secondhand pieces as often with European swords, and I don't get them given to me as often for review purposes, and I just don't have as much exposure, as much to contribute, frankly, to the conversation, but I am very interested. The other one that I've been seeking for a long time is a Shashka. I lived in Russia actually for a time, and I wasn't born there. I lived there as a young adult, and I've had an interest in Shashka for a long time, but the antiques are very expensive, and I don't study any type of martial art as it relates to them. But you know, my wife is from Russia. I lived in Russia for a little while. My daughter is naturally half Russian, And so I have some interest in understanding the Shashka more, but I don't, it's kind of in the future. I'm interested, but I don't find a lot of secondhand pieces, and I don't find a lot of inexpensive pieces, and I don't find a lot of modern reproduction secondhand things, and that's really where I get the bulk of my collection and things to test out. So that's why you haven't seen much. I have like a really cheap reproduction of one, but I haven't featured it on anything because it's pretty hokey and it's not balanced the same way. But that's definitely a category of sword that I'm interested in. I also really like the Compilon. I'm planning on doing a review on, I'm looking over here because I have a few Compilon. That's a Filipino longsword. It's interesting from a practitioner standpoint. I have a Chris Cutlery Filipino Compilon that is really fun and works really well, and so I'm interested in finding antiques of those and different versions, but I don't know how many people are really interested in the Compilon. Anyway, that's the other swords that I'm interested in. You might also ask, or I've had some questions along that line, that why don't I do more knife reviews? There's a lot of people that do knife reviews, a lot of people that make knives, a lot of people that know more about knives, and I really don't think I have much to contribute in the knife conversation. In the future, I might share some of my favorites or what my everyday kind of pocket knife is or something like that, but I don't know that I can add a lot. I don't know a lot about knives specifically, not at least in the same way that I know about Japanese swords, and I try to think, why are you going to watch it? What can I add to the conversation? That's why you don't see me review a lot of knives, or frankly any other than maybe like a Wakizashi or a Tanto, which is not quite the same. Alright, next question. Are you sure you're not a millionaire, and what the fuck do you do for a living? Well, I understand I addressed this earlier. I am not a millionaire. I am a supply chain analyst. That's what I do. I look at spreadsheets, I do statistical analysis, I do reporting, and I smash my face on data, and at the moment that's what my career is. I recently graduated with a degree in supply chain and operations management, and that's what I do for a living, is I look at spreadsheets and I analyze data, and I try to find better ways to get X to Y. And supply chain is, think of it like how things move through a process, and sometimes it can be boxes, and sometimes it can be data, and sometimes it can be a really convoluted, crazy system, which many large companies end up having, and that's really what I do for a living, is I play in that space to the best of my ability. And so it's not a bad job, but it's certainly not an oligarch or a CEO, or, you know, I get it. I have a lot of expensive swords. It makes you wonder what the hell I do for a living. Keep in mind that I don't keep them all. I review a sword, I check it out, and then I often put it up on eBay, or I put it up on Sword Buyer's Guide for sale, or I trade it for something else. So many of the swords that you see in the videos that I have, I no longer have. I don't have this enormous collection of thousands of swords or hundreds of swords. I've just happened to have had hundreds of swords and sold and traded and fitsy-futzed with them, so the collection gets a lot smaller. But most of what you see on eBay is the collection that I have. There's very few pieces that aren't for sale. Alright, next question. You're not funny anymore. Well, I'll let you know that that's really more of a statement than a question, but I've got some folks noting that I am not in the comedy mood all the time anymore, and most of the videos that I make lack the original pizzazz of some of the videos that I made earlier on with the kind of drunken voice. And you're right, I'm not as funny. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, I went on a vegan diet, and apparently I need to eat meat to be fun. No, that's not it. The reason realistically is when I started making videos, it was kind of as a gag, and I didn't really have much to add. I just tried to be funny. And most folks were basically saying, hey, you have something to contribute to the conversation by way of knowledge, and maybe you should share that and focus less on jokes. So I did, and I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad, but I will admit that when I started making videos, I could kind of do it whenever I was in the mood. I could be the right kind of tipsy when I made videos, and when I try and make something every week, I'm not in a funny mood all the time. I told you I'm a supply chain analyst, right? I bang my face on data. It's hard to come home and be in like a ha 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 funny fucker mood. And so some of the comedy suffers as a result, and I also try to put in stuff that's relevant, and there's only so many jokes you can make about sword related stuff. So yeah, I'm less funny. Maybe give me some direction on that. Do you want to see more funny related comedy stuff, or do you want to see more actual relevant help me buy this stuff? I try to put a mix in there because I'm naturally kind of a jovial guy, but anyway, if you want a different mix, let me know and I will try to kick up the funny or tone it down. Point taken though. Again, not really a question, it's more of a statement. I don't know why I elaborated on it so much. I do have some funny stories that have happened to me throughout my years on this planet. I could maybe intertwine them or tell you funny shit, but I don't know that people really tune into this channel to listen to things about me on a personal note as much as look at sword pornography. So, man, let me know what you want. Another question that I get a lot, and I think I've addressed it in videos, but it's what sword is good for XYZ budget? And my answer is usually something very much the same all the time, and that is I buy used swords a lot. Look on eBay, the Sword Buyer's Guide and Sword Forum International and My Armory forums. Look for used stuff on Craigslist. Swords don't have a lot of moving parts. They can be critically flawed, but if the sword has been used and is still in one piece, chances are it doesn't have any fatal cracks from forging or something like that. So used ones actually have some testing done to them, which may indicate that they're in better shape than what you might get from a new production Chinese sword. But the main point I would say is buy used. If you have a budget and not a particular piece in mind, take a look at what the used market has to offer, because often your dollars go further. Many of the swords that I review or that you see videos of are on eBay or something like that now. I'm an eBay and Sword Buyer's Guide seller myself. I sell this stuff, and so there are many other people out there that do the same thing, and your dollars just go further that way than buying a new one. Not to say that a new one is bad, but the new ones are kind of in a different category. If you ask me where to spend my money, I usually look for secondhand used stuff. Recently, I picked up a Yari on Facebook, and I got it for like under $200, which I thought was really awesome. I also picked up a Skydro Domo. It's kind of like Swirly Mitsudomes, but not quite, sword, and that thing retails for like $500, and I picked it up for under $100 because it has some scratches and whatnot on it. Or not under $100, under $200, like $150 or something like that. Anyway, those were not like haggle deals or anything. There's pretty much the advertised price on Facebook, another place that you want to take a look at. There's some groups and things like that, like Sword Buyer's Guide on Facebook. They have a group, All Swords, Knives, Swords, something, buy, sell, trade. There's a few different groups where things get posted, and there's some good deals out there. So that's where things are, and that's where I recommend you spend your money. How is learning going? My journey as a swordsman is always evolving, and I always feel like I'm not exactly where I should be from a practitioner standpoint. Admittedly, I've been pretty lax on practicing lately. It's been a hectic couple of weeks, but realistically, I'm still plugging away at it. I haven't quit, I haven't stopped. I'm still very interested, and I'm trying to get better. I can't say that there's any really marked improvement at this point, though, other than hopefully I look like less of an asshat when I swing the sword around on those test videos. What else is coming up? So I've had some questions about like the projects that I'm making. The Howard Clark Wakizashi project that I made some time ago is with a polisher right now and is getting finished up. I have a update on the Rick Barrett Shobuzakuri project. That one's done and being sent to me. You'll see a video on that in the future. It came out pretty wild. It's a different take on things. I'm actually thinking about giving that one a name, which would be the first sword that I named. But some people feel like naming a sword indicates that it's more than a combination of parts and is somehow alive in some way, and it does something. I don't really feel that that's the case. I just think if you give it a cool name, it's kind of a, I don't know, something neat. I'm probably going to sell it. It was a project that I did kind of as a creative exercise, and I'm going to sell it, and hopefully somebody thinks it's cool. Otherwise, it's going to sit on my rack forever. I also have a Yari video that I plan on making, some more reviews on a Skydro katana. I have another Citadel katana to review. I have plenty of stuff to do. I also have a Cold Steel Emperor katana that I worked on a video kind of earlier before the summer started, kind of late spring, and there was some hold up because the katana wasn't in a great shape, and I sent it to Cold Steel, and I recently got it back, and so I have that review to work on, but I need to do a lot of cutting and testing and stuff like that I still don't have on video. So there's plenty of content to do. It's more or less finding time in the day to do it. That is really all I have for this channel update. Thank you for watching. I hope, as always, that the content is interesting, entertaining. If you have some ideas of what you would like me to do in the future, if it's within my means, let me know. Throw comments below. Tell me what you like, that you don't like. I welcome your critiques and criticisms. So thank you again, and genuinely thank you for subscribing. If you've made it this far in the video, that means you're still paying attention to me rambling. I genuinely appreciate you watching the videos. I appreciate your feedback, and I appreciate you letting me be a part of the community, and I appreciate you subscribing and encouraging me to keep going. Thank you. Cheers.